I'm Michelle from Crafters Countdown, and today we are going to continue with some of our rock projects, and I wanted to show you how to do some pours. So in a few minutes my cousin Colleen is going to join me, but I wanted to first show you some of the supplies that you can pull out so you can be ready to do your pours along with us. So we have some foil down to protect the table area, and we've chosen our rocks. Now, some of these rocks, rather than being gathered, we got them in a bag at Home Depot for around $10, so that was super awesome. You just want to make sure you wash them just like you would the rocks that you find on your own. Now, some of the other supplies are Floetrol, and these are paint mediums, or used as paint mediums, and they help to make your paint a little bit thinner and flow a little bit better. So now another one that you can use is this Elmer's Glue All. We're going to do an experiment today and see if the clear glue works just as well. So we'll get to see together if that works for us or not. And then you've got the extender. So these, I know online you can find some things with dish soap and other things. So go ahead and research and try and see what works for you and your budget. We also know that Mod Podge works, but that's a little on the pricey side, so we're always trying to keep you under budget if we can. Okay, you also have your paints, of course. You can use all kinds of different paints. We've got our regular paints. These are super fun. The color shift, they're an iridescent, so depending on how you look at it, it could be a little bit different shade for you. Metallics, glitters, any kind of paint you want work really great for these pours. Your first step is to pick the colors that you want to pour. And these little glasses, yes, they're shot glasses, but the little plastic disposable shot glasses work great. You can also wash them out when you're done so that you can reuse them and you're not throwing them in the landfill. That's always kind of importance to me. So since next month is Halloween, I'm going to use some Halloween colors. You've got some great fall colors going on there. That'll be awesome. Now, one of the first steps you might want to do, if you remember in the first video that we did, we showed you how to prep your rocks, and one of the important things, if you're going to have people post these on Facebook, is to make sure that you put your labels on the back of your rocks, and they can be paper labels, or a lot of people will just write on the back of their rocks. Now, when you do these pours, you end up with a bunch of glumpiness. It's very uneven, it's sticking up, and it kind of, you know, made a mess on there. Now, you can try to scrape this off with a knife and that kind of thing, but one of the easier tricks, especially if you prefer to use your paper labels, is to take either, you can use some shea butter, you can use coconut oil, what was the other thing you
Vaseline.
said? Vaseline. So you take and rub just a little bit on your rock and label right there, so that as you're doing the pours and the paint sticks to it, once it's dry, you flip it over and you can wipe it off with your paper towel or a rag, and it won't make such a mess. And you can see this one's done in dark colors, but very clean on the back. So, but most of these rocks we're playing with today, they don't have any labels on them, so we're going to have to write them on afterwards, and that's okay. All right, and then one last supply that you'll want to be collecting are, these are little caps for like, from your water bottles or from soda pop, if that's what you do.
Your paint can lids can be anything to raise your rock up off of the foil.
So they're kind of little stands to keep the paint from glopping underneath. So we're going to set each of our rocks that we've chosen to do on one of these cute little caps. You want to dry this ahead of time before you start mixing your paints and pouring, because you want to make sure that they balance on there. You may need to turn it around and find a way that it's not going to wobble and fall off and make a big mess. All right, and then one of the benefits of using these little solo cups is that there are some lines here. And if you put your medium to just about that inside line, then that's about a perfect amount most of the time. A challenge with this clear glue is that it's very clear and a little bit hard to see, but I'm going to give it a little bit of shake. And we will put these into the lines.
And you may need more later anyways. You have to stir it around and see how it's flowing.
So a great way to stir your paint with your medium is to use these wonderful little wooden craft sticks or coffee stirring sticks. You can get these at your local department store for quite a big box of them for a couple bucks. So that'll work out well. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is add our paint to the cups. You want to make sure you give it a really good shake.
About the same amount as you did with your pouring medium.
Okay, so equal amounts. And we're eyeballing here, and that's okay.
It's not a precise science. Let's have fun.
All right.
And then you want to mix that really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it supposed to be? It's supposed to be more runny.
Yes, that's not a very good run. So.
Okay, so I
You
need
either
more.
have too much paint, or you're gonna you'll need to add a little more medium. You can even add some water.
Okay, so you want it to be able to. You want it to form a line.
Yeah, you want it to be nice. You know what I mean? So that you can. So it's gonna run over your rock. You want it to be a nice runny consistency.
Okay.
Like hot, yummy banana pudding. Look at that.
So one of the challenges that I had is when I started putting the paint in, it's a little bit older. You know, these larger ones don't necessarily disappear as quickly. And so it was a little bit gloppy, and you want to make sure that you're using nice fresh paints. The gloppy ones aren't going to work because they won't pour as well. I'm having a little bit of a rough time getting this black to get pouring, even though I added quite a bit more of this just because it was already glumpy. So I'm going to put just a skosh of water in there so that it will liquefy it just a little bit more. So I'll be right back. You'll want another cup, and always have some paper towels or rags handy because we've already painted our fingers.
Yeah.
So, and none on our clothes yet. Yet being the operative word there. So it's also good to, as sort of a base color, to choose either white or black. I mean, it's not a requirement, but most people will choose as sort of a base, either white or black as one of their colors. So I'm using black because I'm going with the Halloween theme, and Colleen has chosen white.
So I'm going to take a little bit of white, and I am going to pour it into my cup.
And I'll do the same with the black.
Just a little. And then I'm going to go with a little bit of my green. And the higher you pour or the lower you pour towards your cup can make it different. You can pour it in straight, on the sides a little bit of each color, a lot of bit of each color.
So are you doing this in layers or doing dots or swirling, kind of stirring around? Okay.
And then go again. And that's why two rocks will never be the same.
Now remember that acrylic paint is really great for wiping up when it's wet. You want to make sure that while it's wet. Now you can scrub it off of plastic a lot of times and glass if you give it a really good scrub, but if you get it on your clothes, you want to immediately go wash that off with water, and maybe a little bit of dish soap. All right, so we're going to go ahead and use up all of our paint here. Get this nice and layered and swirled and dripped and bubbled. And again, because we don't care for waste, we're going to see if we can get out as much of this paint as possible. Personal preference as to whether you stir it or not?
Yes. You could make an X. You could stir a little bit. I would never stir very much. Or you could not stir at all.
Okay.
Okay. What is your preference?
I'm not a big fan of the muddy look, so I'm going to not stir just because I like my separation, my contrast. I'm a big contrast fan.
Then I'll do an X in it so we can see.
Okay.
I'm just going to X this way. And then I'm going to X this way. And then we will just take your paint and you can go in lines or in circles. You just pour any way you'd like. Just have fun. So that looks awesome. I like that. Wowee. Look at that. Oh my. Let me go back and get spots that need a little more.
That's cool. The way it's not dripping down inside there.
Fabulous. I'm loving that.
When there's a spot that you've missed, you can take a spoon and scoop it up and use some more.
A stiff brush. This one here.
Yeah. Maybe you can. Yeah, there you go. That's perfect. And again, I'll put music on, voice over this.
And it runs too. This isn't done. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It'll continue to run.
So what you doing now?
Well, we didn't have quite enough. So what I'm doing now is making a mess. Because
I'm good at that. So if you try scooping it up and you find that there's just not quite enough to cover the rocks like you were hoping, then go ahead and mix a little bit more paint. Not a problem. I went with the black for kind of a Halloween theme, but you want to maybe use a little bit less black than I did. I think that I got it overpowering a little bit. So, and we could always pour a little bit more of the other colors on top of there, but I wanted to paint skulls and stuff on top of there, so it'll make a really nice backdrop for some of the Halloween things I want to add later.
It will, and it always changes a little bit after, and it'll look awesome.
And then, you know, some of the ones that are done in front of us here, you can see that they have words on them, encouraging words. What you'll need to do next is let these dry overnight, and then just like we did in that first video where we showed you how to do the basics for rock painting, you'll want to apply your coat of Mod Podge, let that dry, and then whether you use a spray varnish or some kind of, I use a brush on.
After you write your little inspirational words.
Right. So you can leave them as is because some of these are really gorgeous. You can paint pictures on them. You can write inspirational words on them or a note or message to someone. We've shown you how to do some of the tissue paper and sticker kind of things, and
tattoos,
napkins, the transfers, laser transfer technique. So all of those can be done right on top of your poured rocks. So this gives you a great background to work with. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get cleaned up here. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you're having fun, and we will see you next month, where we're going to go way off of the paint thing and show you some other things you can do with your Halloween rocks. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.